is in lieu of the High Court hearing the case for the Javelin Park mass burn incinerator. We're basically here today to show the strength of feeling that still exists within this community, which does not want the incinerator.
And I'm here today because we still think we've got a chance to stop this incinerator from happening.
Well, I drew the incinerator months ago, and I thought it was just such an obvious play on words, really, because an incinerator is a bit of a dinosaur technology. Okay, so it should be extinct. It shouldn't really be brought back to life and plonked in the middle of Gloucestershire, and something we should all be very scared of.
For our family and for our community and for our community. Come and have a cup of tea. Come and have a cup of tea.
And I think this incinerator, the model is absolutely awful. It's like the most ineffective model possible.
First of all, why are we here? Well, because there's such a lot of strong local feeling, really the majority feeling about this incinerator, that it is not a healthy option either for Gloucestershire or in fact in any way in regard to climate change and in regard to the whole national situation of how we deal with our waste. And there have always been, as I'm sure you all know, cheaper and cleaner alternatives on the table.
Fire burning through the night. Fire burning through the night. Insatiable its appetite. Insatiable. Something here just isn't right. Something here just isn't right. This week.
Apart from it being a total waste of resources that are being burnt rather than reused, because about 50% of what goes in here is reusable and recyclable. It will be toxic, it will pollute, and it's terribly expensive. It's going to cost the taxpayer. We've got a costed proposal on the table from another local company that could charge the district council £5 a tonne for dealing with waste, and this incinerator will cost £100 a tonne for dealing with waste. So it's totally wasteful use of taxpayers' money at a time when we really need that money for services and to support vulnerable people and all the things that are being cut. So there's nothing about this project that makes any sense and has any logic.
But I'd just like to say we're here to celebrate community. So by public meeting and by door-to-door survey, Haresfield has decided to declare itself toxin free. At this moment in time, this action has no formal legal power, but it has moral and social power. It's a powerful political statement, and that we're united in our rejection of this reckless plan for an incinerator here at Javelin Park. We also stand in solidarity with communities across the country who are facing similar toxic threats that are being forced on them against their will by a government and an industry that have ceased to listen to the people they supposedly represent.
It is really awful idea.
I think it's an insult to our democracy and we should absolutely say no.
In recent weeks we've had Neil Carmichael and UBB saying it's totally safe. Well, the evidence that I've seen contradicts that. You know, the filters on these incinerators don't block out all the dioxins. If you look in France and Iceland, we've seen cases where farms have had to close within the first 2 years of the incinerator being open because the land is contaminated. So for so many reasons, you know.
Because I'm really against the incinerator, and I'm really worried about the possibilities of toxins coming from the tall chimney.
The door of every house was knocked on, some people several times if we couldn't raise them. But 98% of respondents said they wanted to be free of an incinerator, they wanted to be free of incineration pollution. 94% also said that they wanted to be frack free. And people might say, well, that's not a threat round here right now, but actually in reality, the Cotswolds were up for licensing last year, and those that licensing round closed in the autumn, and we still have not been told who may have bought licences for fracking in our area.
My name's Kelvin Hall. I'm a Nailsworth resident, and I'm here today because this is an example of the government imposing a policy on a local community which the local community rejects, and it is also a policy which is obsolete and anachronistic in view of the eco-crisis. At the end of last week, the government announced a policy which it trumpeted to do with wind farms, and it claimed that this policy would prevent wind farms being imposed on communities that didn't want them. And here we have a toxic incinerator being imposed upon a community that doesn't want it, which to me indicates a disgraceful double standard in favour of carbon burning fuels.
Why is it with such huge and continued opposition against an incinerator which is burning our valuable resources that it is allowed to go ahead? So we're here to show what we don't want and demonstrate why we don't want it.
And one of the things that Jeremy Irons was kind of exhorting us to do is like actually, kind of take some popular action, don't wait to be authorised to do things. And Haresfield have kind of taken this forward by taking up this toxin-free community strategy. But what it essentially is based on is the idea of social licence, because no matter what legislators may say, no matter what planning committees may decide, ultimately there are an awful lot more residents than there are decision makers, and actually if we do not grant that social licence, that can be very awkward, very expensive and very embarrassing for companies and for councils and so on. And that there is historic proof that this actually does work and is an active way of engaging the community and actually changing things that feel like they maybe can't be changed.
We refuse to deal with refuse in ways that are wasteful of waste. Don't talk rot about rubbish. This hash of our trash is a disgrace. A series of bad decisions needs a good one to change the trend. Come on, council, scrap the contract and bring this stink to an end.
This land is all that we have for sure.
We have not been told about the sneaky, secret contract they have signed without our permission. So because the legal system and the government have failed us, our communities have been on a steep learning curve. We have some great champions in Glodsfane who have done some immensely hard work in raising the alarm and waking us all out of our slumber. So thank you so much, Sue. I remember from Balcombe just how exhausting it was. And to others, countless others who I can't remember all your names.
We should be recycling, we should be reusing the things we're putting into the incinerator now. And it is just totally outrageous.
That is available, is viable, and potentially could be taken up at district council level. It's called R4C because it could be taken up by the district council, effectively making the county council incinerator redundant by providing a cleaner alternative, the waste hierarchy, which is legally preferable, because actually that's what the more recent waste directives coming out of Europe want us to do. They want us to deal with it in reuse and recycling and so on before it gets to the end of life that requires incineration, or that people think might require incineration. So it's actually a very real and very viable alternative.
So I'm here to support, not to support, to be in opposition to the incinerator because it's wrong, it's not the right solution, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we might have a good decision by the courts on next week.
We definitely don't have this incinerator here. If you think what this incinerator is going to do, it's going to put toxins straight into the atmosphere around here. You wouldn't build a sewage pipe going out to sea with the waste coming back straight back onto the beach. So why on earth are we building an incinerator here that's going to put the incineration toxins straight back into the community? It's madness.
Land is all. This land